To be honest, music was something I always wanted to do. My early childhood, and I look back at it and I really feel like siku hizi watoi hawana bond na wazazi. Every Saturday morning, without fail, my dad would tell me, jump into the car, and we would jump into the car and we would go to the record store. When I say record store, najua watoi wa siku hizi watahang record what? Kuna place watu record? No, palikuwa na shops. Unanunua ma CD, ma album, ma vinyl, ma nini, unajua. So I would go there with my dad and I would look at all these vinyls, and he'd tell me, okay, you choose yours and then me I choose mine, and mimi naenda nasikiza vitu hapo naona hii naweza, nachagua, tunachukua 2, 3, 4 records and we go and listen every Saturday without fail. Now, one, that was a bonding time for us. Do we, this new generation, even when we have kids, do we have those times when it's just me and my son, let me go bond, or me and my daughter, let me go bond? We don't. Sababu kila mtu yuko busy, job. Ikifika weekend unataka tu kujiwekelea na utaki story ya mtu. Unaelewa? Na siko ubaya, lakini you are overworked, so you are really exhausted. So the world is conditioning you not to raise your own child, not to bond with your own child. So you're going to have a child that has no bonds. Ye bond yake ni PS. Na saa zingine, you've seen some kids, they are abusing people on socials and stuff, and they're really young, and you're wondering, who hurt you? Do you know what I mean? It's because they don't have those bonds. They don't have those connections. Yeah. At all. They've got no grounding at all. And this, I look at it and I say, we're losing the creativity, we're losing the connections, we're losing the spiritualities, we're losing all of these things because of people running for some sort of lifestyle that doesn't actually even make sense. There's one thing I say, use what you got to get what you want. Use what you have in your hand to get what you want. I started a bag company with a smartphone. My shop, my smartphone. My bank, my smartphone. My marketing, my smartphone. My advertising, my smartphone. Come on, man. Mko kwa generation imepatiwa kila kitu na bado mnaomba. You're either a producer or you're a consumer. So I tell this to Kenyans. We can consume all the Chinese nonsense that they bring, down to the pleather jackets, down to fake Gucci and Prada, down to all of these. We can consume them, no problem. We're just making jobs for the Chinese and giving them money. Or we can become producers and we can produce our own things, okay? Not just clothes, everything. And once we produce, we can now sell to ourselves and other people. In fact, think about this stupid thing. Kenyans don't buy Kenyan underwear. Itakuwaje unanunua ngodha, unavalishwa ngodha na mtu mwingine? Unajidharau kiasi gani? Hatuwezi make ngodha hapa Kenya. Ngodha tu. Hatuwezi make ngodha. Tuanze tu na ngodha. Tuuze 30 million ngodhas. Hiyo ni pesa ngapi? Hiyo ndio mob. Ukweli uongo? I look at stuff like that and I'm like, who's in government? The hell are you doing to us? Do you know what I mean? You're killing us. Because the first thing that the leadership should do is say, okay, we can import any other mitumba lakini ngodha ingi. Tengenezeni wenyewe hapa. Na hata kama umetoka majuzi juu umenunua Prada, Gucci ya kutoka sijui ati sijui ni tongi ya Prada. Inachapishwa tax ndio ujue next time. Nunua ngodha ya joka cha ujinga. When I came into the music industry, I came in first as a musician. The first thing that happened was I had I had a friend with a studio, so I recorded a demo at his place for 100 bob. 1 hour was 100 bob. I paid for 1 hour, that's all I had. I did my demo. I went to the record label. The record label was called Tamasha. Tamasha was where Royal Media is now. That's actually, in fact, Tamasha is still there. And I went down to Tamasha. I gave this guy my demo cassette, the guy in charge of, artists and repertoire, some Kamba guy, and he listens to it, and he's in the middle of rolling his spools of tape and stuff, and he's listening. And midway, he just stops it and throws it back at me and says, "Sasa hii mziki mnafanya, nani atanunua? Hip hop, muna rap gospel, haiwezi nunuliwa. Toka hapa na ukwende kabisa." I said, "What can I do to change?" Wewe kama unataka imba hizi mziki za River Road, hizi zingine wachana nazo. I didn't have fare going, and I didn't have fare to go back home. Both ways I had to walk. So imagine, you're walking home with all of that rejection. I was pained. I remember that day I wasn't even angry, I was just in pain. Like, I'm sure I'm on to something, and I'm sure I'm on to something, full stop. And fast forward 10 years later, I've become a music producer. Actually, not 10, 15 years later, I've become a music producer. I've got my own record label. It is right across the street from Tamasha. Literally, right across the street from Tamasha is where I am. And this guy walks into my studio not knowing who I am, asking for a job. The same guy who had told me to get out of here, asking for a job. I asked him, "Do you remember me?" He said, "No, I don't remember you." I said, "Are you sure?" He really did not remember me at all. I tried to remind him, he could not even remember. But he played his role in my life. What was his role in my life? To cement the fact that I wanted to do it and how much I wanted to do it. That was his role. God brought him into my life to make sure, kuniuliza direct, "Hiki tunafanya uko sure nayo?" Sometimes the universe has to make sure that you're 100% sure with what you're doing. So, are you sure this is what you really want? And it's going to break you to find out if you're sure. It's like joining the military. You're not just going to walk in and join the army. They're going to break you first to find out if you have the heart for it. And that's what happened early in my music career. So by the time I started producing musicians, I would have the same mantra of, let me make sure that these people really want it. Because there are musicians who come, wanahit leo, kesho ashapotea. Nameless, I discovered he's still there. Waire, I discovered he's still there. Nazizi, I discovered she's still there. Susanna Wheel, I discovered she's still there. Do you understand? A lot of the people that I worked with had the passion for it. And the world broke them before they managed to break through. It's very small, but for me, it's very big. I have a cousin who's close to me, and he moved to the UK to become an international rugby player. So I had not seen him from the time we were teenagers, okay, for about 15 years. So we reconnected when I was about like 29 or 30. And this is how we reconnected. One day, he found my number, and he called me from the UK. And he told me, "Yo, I didn't even know. I just got a CD and it had your name on it. And then I was playing this CD and I listened to Tingbadi Malo. And he said, it's on repeat in my car, on repeat." For him, that was like, wow. First of all, this is my cousin. And then number two, this is Kenyan. He hadn't been home for long. He said, I couldn't believe this is happening in Kenya. And for me, that was like a moment of pride. At least kuna watu wana appreciate ile kitu tunafanya. Do you know what I mean? And they are far from where we are. They are very, very far. So that was memorable for me. My worst studio experience, it's actually not a studio experience. I finished an album, and MTV Base UK at the time called us and told us, yo, we want you to come to London. I'm like, yo, okay, sawa, si naoma tuna mado tunaweza fika. Kalipia msanii pesa, ndege, tukapanda, tukaenda. MTV are like, we've seen what you've done with these music videos and stuff. We really love what you're doing. So, and this is the general manager of MTV Base. He's called us into a boardroom with a pen and paper and he's asked, so how can we build you?
That's a clean
open check.
Open check.
And I say, I want to collab with X, I want to collab with Y, I want to collab with this, and then I want you guys to do features for this and this and this, and they're writing them down and saying, no problem, no problem, no problem, no problem, all of this will be done, okay, no problem. We come back to Kenya and the musician stops music. He just stopped music. MTV Base took that so badly that they said, we wanted to give these Kenyans an opportunity, but let's do this. Let's give that opportunity to the Nigerians. Oh, P Square, come. Kenyan music, Nigerian music, it had such a bad ripple effect because that general manager at that point, because that failed, it went down in his resume and a Nigerian took his job. People don't remember, but at the launch of MTV Base, there were only 2 African videos. And both those 2 African videos I produced, they were Kenyan artists. Only 2 at the day of the launch. So those 2 had an open check to the world. Both of them chose radio. We did not want it enough. You know, I tell people, if you want it enough, it doesn't matter what happens. The devil will bring you stuff like, hey, najua sasa ngoma yako imeanza kushika lakini si unaweza mari. Alafu kasupuka na kutokea bro, unajua. Size, kila kitu, haga iko point nini, sura ya huda, rasa ya huda, kila kitu ya huda, mpaka lipstick ya huda. Unasema, hey, hii ngoma si inaweza chill kwanza. Unaenda kumari. And then what happens to your career? It goes down the drain. But you're not seeing you're making a mistake because this woman is everything you wanted. But she was brought there to sidetrack you. And I'm not saying woman, I'm saying figuratively speaking. Do you know what I mean? Things are thrown your direction that sidetrack you very, very easily. And if you're not discerning and you know that, hii kitu imeletwa hapa intupe off guard, utaenda off guard. I started R&B when I came back from the UK. Swahili R&B. My whole journey can be summed up musically as a melting pot of neo-soul, R&B, jazz, Afrofusion meets Swahili. I think that's what you can say. So I thought, let me call this label R&B and start rocking and rolling with some new artists. And because I wanted it to be authentic Swahili, I brought in Masauti, I brought in Edie, and both of them are from Mombasa, so they're very conversant with how to write in Swahili and culture, because I wanted it to be authentic. But then I realized along the way that I'm busy pumping money into artists, but artists are using me as a stepping stone, a launch pad. So I've just become like a Ford Foundation. I'm just dishing money out for people wafanye mavitu zao. And I thought to myself, you know, the age I am at right now, I want to leave a legacy. I want to do something that makes money, that builds people, not just one person, but builds many people, that enables many people to put food on their table. And music wasn't that. Music, one, you don't get money from royalties. There's no loyalty. Msanii atakwambia, akia Mungu wewe unijui, unielewi, mimi si kama wale wengine, akia Mungu mimi naweza kufa na wewe. Ni para buda, ni para. ngoma mbili buda akipata single aingie tu Kiss FM aone Kamene ashachoka. Mimi nimemake it. Kia Mungu. Unajua? Alafu msanii anasahau, it's like a flash in the pan. Fame ni kama saa ile unajua sufuria moto kabisa. Alafu weke maji kidogo ndani ya sufuria. Hiyo maji kwanza inarukanga mpaka nje. Haibaki hapo. Hiyo ndio fame. Fame ni sekunde moja kwa life yako. Wasanii hawaonangi hiyo. Hao wanaona hiyo flash jo ni noma. Mimi wacha nikuwe tu hiyo flash. Mimi naweza baki hapo, naweza kuwa maana hiyo pana. Huwezi kuwa kwa pan moto. Huwezi. Kuna vile lazima utaeject. Lazima utaeject. So after the recording with Masauti and stuff, he started doing his thing. He decided he wanted to go back to Mombasa. He decided he thought that my music was too intense for the kind of stuff he wanted to do. And the truth is, it was too intense for the kind of stuff he wanted to do. What he wanted to do and what I wanted to do were polar opposites. I didn't want to do pop music. Mi ngoma ya club sina haja nayo. In fact, hizo masijui trap na masijui nini. Mushinda mnasikiza nini? Hizo ni kelele kwangu. Yeah. Mi nataka kusikia gitaa imechapo na unasikia kamba zote sita zikilia, unajua? Na reverb hapo na compression na unajua. Yeah, exactly. Alafu amechange key hapo, ametranspose. Ukiambia msanii transpose kizi anakuambia nini buda transport? Ajui transposition, unaelewa? Yani kuchange key buda. Naona nimekutupa timing. Nimekutupa timing. Unajua, it's not there and they don't care. They want a hit now. I'm not about a hit now. I'm about a song that 20 years from now, people will still listen to. Atoti. I recorded in 2000. Hii ni 2020 bro. Corona bado. Atoti haijakufa. Watu wamedai lakini Atoti bado iko. Unajua? 2002, Unbogable. Bado uchezwa buda. Kisumu 100, 1999. Bado yo uchezwa. Uhiki 96 buda, 96. Bado yo uchezwa. Kwa nini? Sababu mimi naangalia timeless. Alafu kuna watu wanaangalia time bound. Hamwezi patana. Are you understanding? You just cannot be on the same page. Mtakosana. I think that is only applicable in Kenya because if I look at Tanzania, there's a lot of successful women musicians, Lady JD, Tandy, akina nani wote wamevuma size ya Diamond na wanaendelea kupanda. And when you listen to their audio quality and their video quality, you look at it, it's on par. When you go South Africa, you had Hugh Masekela, you had Miriam Makeba, you know, it's equals. When you look at even Nigeria, there's people like Asha, who are big internationally, you know, and she's a lady, you know, a very successful lady. I think in Kenya we are just assholes, for lack of a better word, because the men feel like they can put the women down, and there's no need for that. The plate is big enough for everybody to share. Do you know? So if a big female pop artist comes and she's beautiful, designer Beyonce, unaelewa, what's going to happen? The first thing that's going to happen to that musician, nikimtuma radio na single yake, au mapresenta wote watataka kuingia ndani ya thong yake. Na utamwambia bila mimi kuingia ndani ya thong yako, ngoma yako haingii ndani ya station yangu. So tutadu. That's why I said we're sort of assholes. And the same thing applies for television. Do you understand? So the men in power want to use the women in order to give those women the same opportunity that their counterparts have. None.
Really?
Yes.
Why?
The audio quality is horrible. I can't listen to the audio quality. It has nothing to do with the music. The professional recordings are not being done well. I'll repeat that again. The professional recordings are not being done well. You need to have good sound engineers. When I trained, the person who trained me was from New York Institute of Technology. He wasn't just an engineer, he was the kind of guy who would go down to River Road, buy little spare parts and come and build his own mixer, a recording mixer, out of a few cables and things. Do you know what I mean? And he trained me with that in mind. So I listened to fidelity. Do you know what fidelity means? It's not sasa udem maze alikuwa infidelity, alikuwa na infidelity jo. No. Fidelity is high sound quality recordings, very high sound quality recordings. And that's what I've always tried to achieve in my recordings. And I have failed many, many times, to a point that I don't even listen to my recordings because I hear the lack of good audio quality in those recordings. Yeah, it has been for me the thing that I'm trying to attain. It's not a good song, but it's a really, really crisp, good recording and sound and everything. And I don't find that in Kenya. There's a lot more opportunities for musicians now. There are a lot more radio stations. So, you can call a friend who call a friend and your music will get played on radio. When we started, there was one radio station. And you would only get played on KBC General Service, and you'd only get played 1 hour a week between 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. on a Monday morning. Nani anasikiza radio time? What happened to me was I did something very stupid. I decided to become an advertising guru for politicians. Very bad idea, because when you roll with the big dogs, you have to learn how to piss on the big trees. And I had not figured out that I was going to need to piss on big trees. I did an advert that really irritated the people in State House. And all it took was Mama Lucy to say, ambia watu waache ku-interfere na advertising yetu. That's all. And it was Kenya just became not too palatable for a music producer. Politicians have a short-term memory. They're like 2 months later, like, oh, you're back, yeah, cool, yeah, karibu, Kitty, sit down, yeah, how you doing, what's been up, okay, So I decided to come home for 2 reasons. I was living out of a suitcase, which was really uncomfortable. And I was in between Lagos, London, and Cape Town, constantly training people in media, training people in production, but not having roots. And I decided, let me go home, make my roots at home. Yeah.